Is it easier for white men to date women across the board because they have higher sexual market value? You're probably asking yourself the same thing. If you're not white, then you might be wondering why you are struggling in the dating market with white girls potentially. Or you are a white boy who has never struggled in the dating market and you just so happen to come across this video and you agree with it and think, yeah, actually, I've never really struggled to get white girls. But you probably notice that for non-white guys, especially brown dudes, Asian dudes, in the UK, Asian means brown, but in America, Asian is like yellow dudes, basically. In general, brown dudes, Asian dudes, black dudes, Arabs, Latinos, anything that's just not European, Aryan race white, basically. Do those men struggle more than white men in the dating market? Let's try and draw some conclusions and then give an answer at the end. There was a piece of research done on OkCupid, and they asked a bunch of different races, women of different races, would they want to date someone exclusively in their race? And there was just a yes or a no. Okay, so then you had Asian girls, black girls, white girls, all different types of girls were asked, would you only date someone that's in your given race? And the results were as follows. Funnily enough, the white women said yes 54% of the time. So about half of the white women that were asked said they would prefer to date a white man that was of the same race as them. All the other races, brown, Asian, black, Hispanic, Latino, Arab, every other possible variation that you can get, yeses were below 20%. So about 20% or below said, yes, I want to date someone who is of the same race. So it was about 80% of them said, no, not necessarily, don't have to date someone from my own race. It could be a guy from anywhere. I find guys attractive from all sort of forms of life. So what does that show us? The truth is that white men do have an easier time in the dating market. They have a larger pool of women to choose from. This isn't necessarily rocket science. The stats does support it. You might have come across a lot of other dating channels that will also support this same notion. And it's genuinely true from my observations that taller, handsome white men will have a better time in the dating market than taller, handsome, any other type of man from any other type of race. There are things you can do to counteract this, of course. There is always something you can do. But there is also a ceiling that you can potentially reach. So you might be a 5'7" Indian dude who is very successful. Actually, funny that's exactly the UK Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak. He's 5'7", he's extremely successful and well educated, and he's gone and married an Indian lady who's a heiress, whose dad is basically a billionaire. So he did quite well, but obviously his red pill improvement was that he went to a fantastic school in the UK. He's very well educated, he's really smart, and he has such a high level of status that he was always going to find himself a woman. And she could have been from any race. He had such a high level of status, he got to that point. But he just so happened to marry a woman from his race. Maybe because he fancied her, or it was just easier for him to be within that culture, to be within that same race. As the stats show us to be, it does tend to make sense to be with someone from your own race. It is slightly easier on a cultural level, on an understanding level. You just understand each other. The families understand each other a bit better. But as we go in time, and we are in 2024, we are in modern times now, and you do see more interracial dating. So for someone to be hell-bent on the concept of, oh, I can't get her because she's not my race, is to me absolutely absurd, demented, black pill behavior, right? There should be an understanding of black pill, but black pill is a disease, and you ought to be very careful of falling into the trap of black pill thinking because it's very dismissive behavior. It's important to understand it. Okay, if you don't know what black pill is basically the ruthlessness of sexual selection based on sexual market value. Okay, so tall, white, wealthy men will have the largest pool of women. That's just the way it works. Black pill is also tall men, do better than short men. These are generalizations that tend to exist, and they are true. They are generalizations for a reason. So it's important that you do understand that, because then you won't be so unrealistic when you're going to select a mate. But it's important to understand that, but it's also really important to be of a red pill essence where you know that you have to just keep improving yourself. Whether that be going to the gym, whether that be getting a better level of status, whether that mean that you are more confident, whether you reprogram your mind to be like, okay, I'm confident, I am high status, I'm good, let's just keep moving, and people are going to love me for who I am, and I'm funny, and I'm cool, and I'm working on my purpose, and I'm working on my passion. That really there is what a man's job is. A man's job is to completely improve himself. Now, the black pillars will be doing crazy stuff like, well, we call it crazy, but it's become normalized in today's society. Leg lengthening surgery, eye color change. God, you might just change your skin color like Michael Jackson did. You might go through all of these crazy surgeries that people go through now. You could literally change your whole entire face. And this is going to become more and more popular. I don't advise you go and do that. I really don't, because I think it doesn't change what's going on up here. The software that's running your program, if that isn't fundamentally changed, you won't go and get the results that you think that you're worthy of. Oh, I'm taller now, that's it, I'll get the results. You may get the attention. You may initially draw the woman at the beginning, but that doesn't mean that you will draw her in and keep her over the long term. Because if she finds out you've done those surgeries, you're literally going to have to change your identity after you've done those surgeries, because it ain't going to look good. It ain't going to look good. You're going to look weak, and that you haven't fully accepted what God has given you. So the answer to the question I asked at the beginning is, do white men do better in the dating marketplace? As a generalization, the answer is yes, they do. Because if you just observe couples, you'll see that in 2024, you will see more and more interracial couples, especially in the big cities. You go to the smaller towns, you come to places like where I am, Belgrade, there's not many tourists, there's not many immigrants. So of course, you're going to see a Serbian girl with a Serbian guy. That's just how this shit works. But no matter what race you're from, if you develop yourself to be a good-looking guy with the correct mindset, with the confidence, with the sexual confidence, then you will obtain an amazing woman. And it only takes one. You don't need to attract the whole world. You don't need to be the best looking guy in the world. You don't need to sleep with 1,000 different women to get value or to feel good about yourself. That's just going to mess up your brain, man. Like, sleeping with all these girls has not made me feel like a better man. It just hasn't. Like, now I'm in a different stage of my life where I'm actually looking for something more meaningful. And I'm like, all the other stuff was just insecurity and validation. I was just literally validating myself the whole time. Like, oh, I'm not good enough, so I need to sleep with someone to feel good about myself. Now I'm like, nah, I'm all good, thanks. I'm good. I'm looking for something a bit more meaningful and looking for someone who's going to understand me and support me on this journey. So generalizations are there for a reason. Anomalies also do exist. And your goal in this life is to be that anomaly. If you want to be like everyone else, you're going to be average. Okay? But if you are going to be bogged down by these results that you see, that white women would prefer to date white men 54% of the time, and you're just going to rely on that data, then you're going to be screwed, because you're never going to try it with a beautiful white girl. You're going to be like, nah, she's not interested. That's your pre-selected conditioning already. It's conditioned, it's stuck in your brain, and you're not even going to walk up to her. You're not even going to try. And in my opinion, a man who doesn't try is a man who is a failure. But a man who consistently tries and who is to some degree deluded in his own mind that, oh, whatever, forget the stats, I'm just going to go for it. That to me is a fascinating man. And although that man might end up with a woman of similar race to him, that brown dude might end up with that brown girl, that Asian guy from China will end up with the Asian girl from China, and he just, oh, you know what, I'm just going to settle down with her, she just makes more sense to me, she understands my culture. That's fine. But if you are just stuck in that line of thinking I'm not going to look at anyone else, I'm not going to try with any other women because the stats say different and the stats are against me and the odds are stacked against me and I'm not even going to try, then you've already lost. You've already lost the game. You've already lost the game up here. And the game is to win against this thing up here. Once you can control and manage this and beat the system and reprogram the operating software that's going on up there, then at least you stand a chance in this world. Now, in the next upcoming videos, I'm going to talk more about my journey, where I came from, how I managed to get my successes, how I managed to reprogram what's going on in my brain, how I managed to look smacks, what I changed about myself, my style, that got me the results that I've got in my dating life. Because I shouldn't be sitting here giving any of this advice if I hadn't got results. If I was a loser that had slept with no women and I had shit results, I should not be sitting here giving anyone any of this advice. Only successful people in this field should be giving advice. So in the upcoming videos, I'll give more and more advice about how my journey went along and how I changed and how I adapted it, and maybe that will help you moving forward.